on, it must be.
It is time. Yes. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
We are broadcasting live
Live
from Star City Anime
Star City Anime
in Roanoke.
2016.
Exactly. And so we're here, as you can see, in the lovely green room at the local Fox affiliate. No.
I just spilled all over.
Oh well.
The Fox affiliate.
Yes, we're the local Fox affiliates. We're going to be going live on their broadcast any minute now. No, we're in the hotel room. And we're talking about the con and the experiences you've had so far with the con. It's Saturday night. So the con is 2/3 over already.
2/3. Oh, it goes by so quick.
Sure does.
So quickly.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts so far?
I'm enjoying it. Lots of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little worried after my last convention because my last convention was there was 2 feet of snow outside, so it put a little bit of a damper on everybody's attendance. Mm-hmm. But it made a very intimate environment.
Sure.
However, here in Roanoke, Star City, there has been a great attendance.
Yeah.
All sorts of folks and a lot of local folks, a few out-of-towners.
Yep.
Like us.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying the con.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's actually been a busier con.
Quite a bit busier and a smaller city, but busier con.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But with the snow, I can understand that. And we have a few more talents that we've had a chance to talk to and interview. And at some point, we will have those interviews to show everybody. Just got to get them edited down and checked for things that can't go on the air.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we already talked at our last convention about going to a small con.
Yes.
But that was a small con in a big city.
Yeah.
That would be a good title for something.
Small con, big city.
Small con, big city. So this is a small con in a small city.
Yes.
And it's been interesting seeing the difference there because it seems like almost everybody here is just from the local area. A lot of them know each other.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that camaraderie that you get in that kind of environment. And it's also interesting seeing a lot of people who all clearly have similar experiences.
Yes, a lot of friends, and what's interesting is I see a very diverse crowd. So different ages, and some younger folks. Some of the larger cons, I think. I don't see as many young kids at, and I did see a number of younger kids. I think people feel a little bit more safe going to a local con, small town, small city, local con because they know everybody and there is more of a family feel to it, which is quite comforting.
It is, and I think at the larger cons too, you tend to have events and stuff for the little kids to do. So they all end up in one little room for the entire con, right? Which for some parents is great. I totally appreciate that. But it is nice walking around and seeing little kids. And I should also point out, for those of you who are not as crazy about having little kids running around, the ones I've seen have been very much in the hands of parents. The parents are doing a good job of making sure they don't get underfoot.
Well behaved. They're still having fun.
Yep.
There's still some excitement and loudness, but it's not like crazy running around or anything.
Yeah, they don't get in the way. Which is great. And I've seen quite a few of the little kids cosplaying.
Yeah,
cool.
Which is great. You know, especially you see a little kid who's a character that wow, good work, kid.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really neat. And to that point, I did my parents' guide to anime panel, and there were some parents in there who wanted to know how to, better engage with their kids about anime. And they were there with their kids, which is neat.
Well, you always amaze me with your panels because
Thank you.
I always learn something new, and I'm just amazed. There's so much that you've seen. I'm always getting new ideas, and I noticed a lot of other people decided that they were going to take down some of the titles because you have so many great touchstone titles that you can recommend to people. And I noticed a lot of people jotting downs of different things when you'd ask a question, and that's one thing I really enjoy is learning about new anime, and you're just a wealth of information.
Well, thank you very much. So I appreciate that. And it's actually been one of the neat things about this con is that I think, especially with your experiences with tech and AV and so forth, we've done a much much more complete job, if you will, of of going around, getting people, talking to people, being able to just sort of grab people as we go. Something I've never had the ability to do before. So that's been awesome. And it's actually one of the other interesting things about this con is how it's about kind of diversity of topics. We went to a kendo demonstration today.
Kendo.
Yeah. And there was a woman there she's been doing kendo for like 12 years.
It was quite exciting.
And she was good. Whoa.
All the different, and I'd always wondered, is bamboo blade accurate? And she said, yeah, that's pretty much accurate.
Yeah.
Now some of the kendo you see in other animes may not be quite as accurate, but having a validation that something in an anime is, that's really the way it is, or no, that's not like it. It's something that's enjoyable because then I have some frame of reference to put stuff in. And
exactly.
say, oh, okay. Yeah, I know a little bit about this.
And we've seen some really neat stuff here. There was a panel all about folklore, and like American folklore, which is really interesting. Just sort of talking through that stuff. And there was a panel where a guy was running a tabletop role-playing game for 2 hours.
Wow.
A game of Vampire the Masquerade, which was really interesting. So yeah, seeing all those different little things where at, I think, medium or larger cons, the kinds of material has been more settled. You know, here you can have little folks who say, hey, I've always wanted to do this at a con. Sure, I want to do it.
Hey.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Right now, there's a panel that's going on making props with foam that I can't wait to get back and hopefully we'll get some footage and be able to bring that to you guys at some point. We'll see what we can get.
Totally. They're constructing boffer weapons.
Oh, the boffer fights.
Yeah.
Oh, boffer battles.
Yeah. Those are fun. And also what impresses me too is like they have a tabletop gaming room. And they have all sorts of board games. They have role-playing games. They have
video games.
Both
about stand-up and console and
wow. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. Especially for again a smaller con. Pretty impressive.
It's quite a bit of variety.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And of course, there's the art room, the dealer's room, and wow, the number of people.
Yeah,
it's quite exciting.
So. And this is something we were talking about earlier about one of the nice things about a smaller con is the ability to stop by a table at a dealer's room and somebody, and you're looking over something and he'll say, I first saw that anime 15 years ago in this experience and this happened to me, and then I watched this other thing that was kind of like it. Maybe you like this. And we had like a 20-minute conversation with one of the dealers.
Frank, Frank talked with us about all sorts of anime and sci-fi and different things he's seen. He's one of the dealers who actually gets into watches. He said almost 90% of the stuff that he sells, which is fantastic because then he can give you recommendations based on what he's seen. He can really say, I know what this is about, rather than the salesperson who says, well, hold on, let me read the back of it to you. Well, I could have done that. He's actually seen it. And if you tell him, oh, I like this or that, he can say, well, I can recommend this to you because it has that element or something else. And he also specializes in odd and rare items. So not just anime, but horror, sci-fi, thriller. So it's not limited to just anime. So if you have some overlapping interests.
And what's also neat is he does sort of buy-sell trade as well. So one of the things that hey Liquidus,
hey,
one of the things that was kind of interesting about that is that when he does like rare stuff, he will do a rare copy of Yojimbo or Samurai, or so the Record of Lotus War anime OVA, which came out and then kind of disappeared and has gotten extremely rare. He had a copy of it there for $90, $100, and that is one of those things where legitimately you can't find it anymore.
You're not going to get it. You got to go to the specialty items.
And then there were quite a few things he had there where it's like, this came out once 10 years ago. Good luck, but he has it. And the other cool thing is that they we came across a dealer, and we have some DVDs sitting over here on the side from this hall, where he does a lot of like eBay lots, and a lot of local people who come to him with anime. And so we had a lot of cheap anime that was there were legitimate releases, but it's just, you know, $5 here, $10 there. You get a lot of neat stuff.
Instead of the entire box set, somebody's got all the different 3-episode releases and sell them in a bundle. So
yeah. And the prices here have been cheaper than a lot of the larger cons. A real big help.
We saw somebody doing their own comic. We saw a number of folks doing different steampunk variety style stuff. Of course, all sorts of wild hats. And you know, I'm always interested how some cons will say you can't have blades, but then they'll have someone who's selling metal, obviously, that you could buy, but you can't really walk around with. But here there was some interesting things both in the dealer's room and the artist's room. Different swords and such. But the kendo, I gotta say, was that I wasn't expecting kendo, and when I saw kendo, that was pleasantly surprising.
It was amazing. I mean, I went in there and she asked, you know, why are you here? What are you curious about? And like, I think I said something like, well, I got a little bit of martial arts stuff, and I'm just curious about kendo. And I walked out of there thinking, I'm going to have to find a local kendo place.
Remember that.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. So like, what brings up this topic that I think we talked about a little bit before, the fact that expiring licenses have become news, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah.
Folks have started reporting on ANN that a license is about to expire. So letting folks know, you know, get it now if you want to. And I think it's also important for reminding people of the fact that licenses do expire.
Yeah, this is not going to be there forever.
Yeah, exactly. And you just need to be aware of how those things change and evolve over time.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky because I get the sense that if I see it on the shelf somewhere in a store, it's always going to be available, and that's simply, I found, not the case. Because as soon as I begin to like a product somewhere, the company will change its formula, they'll stop producing it, or the store will stop carrying it. And you don't think about media being that way as much, but it really is going in that direction.
Yeah.
You may be able to find something on the internet, but it's not like having the original, you know, it's, so yeah. It's,
well, and even the internet, I mean.
Even the internet has stuff disappeared. It's there for.
And so let's be honest. I mean, I have stuff where I've gotten on DVD, other stuff where I've eventually gotten on fan sub, and other stuff where I try to find a fan sub and it's not there.
No longer.
And it was there at one point. It's just not there anymore.
Nobody got it, downloaded it, their hard drive crashed, they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. I've been surprised how much stuff. So I recently went through this process of digitizing all my discs, anime discs, and there were some where I was like, okay, the disc didn't you know,
somehow damaged.
Yeah,
you own the original, but
I own the original,
a copy of it.
So I can't get a copy of it. So I went online to see if somebody had a copy. Nowhere. Even all the normal haunts, just it had been licensed and released, even, and nobody had it available. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that even the internet forgets. It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Now, manga, can manga go that direction?
Absolutely, yeah. We have the exact same issues involved.
Oh, but is the time period similar for that?
That's a good question. Medium? I don't know.
Because I mean, it all depends on the license. I suppose that's international license, which is different than U.S.
Right, I know U.S. anime licenses are usually for about 7 years. So, and I would expect manga licenses to be similar.
Wow, so FMA was released quite a while back.
And and I think they got a longer license than most. So you get, FMA, I think they licensed for 10 years or so. Wow. Because they knew they could, it was clear at the time that FMA was going to be valuable enough to hold on a little longer than most. So
Angel Beats.
Yeah. Angel Beats, Darker Than Black, Sekirei, others will no longer be available.
Than Black, yeah.
So yeah, it's now, to be clear, the fact that one company's license expires doesn't mean that nobody will ever pick that license up in the future.
They may pick up it and do something different with it.
Yeah, you might get something like a save edition, or you might get a more expensive edition. Now, one thing I would love to see the American companies get on compared to the Japanese companies is if we could get some of the limited edition box sets that they get in Japan.
Nice.
So I would love to get those really expensive ones where you don't have to buy it. There is a cheap edition available.
One release here, and if you're a big fan, this is our special release.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to go back and get some of those things.
An art book or some special the soundtrack within it.
Yeah, little figurines, all that stuff.
Headband.
Yeah, RV headband. Still have that around somewhere. Yeah, we really need to get some of that stuff with those licensed rescues to say, hey, you know, if you haven't gotten around to it yet, here's a way of getting it.
I found those kind of boxes when I see them. I usually see them once and never again.
Yeah.
So if I don't buy them immediately. And then I become a fan of it, I always think, oh, I wish I'd gotten it when I had the chance.
And when you think about it, you know, those are made for the hardcore fans.
Yeah.
And the hardcore fans are going to know about it, and they're going to snap it up.
Yeah.
See, I had the exact issue, the exact same issue, that you find things and
Black Butler is another one.
Picano expires.
Picano.
Yeah.
This Monday.
If you want Picano, pick it up.
Wow, I'm glad I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something to be aware of.
I still haven't seen Black Butler. I've got to check that out. But Picano I liked.
That was really great. That's a classic. Really fun show. So yeah, it's also kind of unusual for me at this con how many anime we found in the dealer's room that I'd never heard of before in my life.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
And especially with you, because you've heard of so many anime.
Well, you know, these things do kind of come to mind. But yeah, I mean, usually at the smaller cons, okay, you have
the standard
Gundam and other stuff, and you know, Love Live or whatever.
Well-known anime that sells well,
which totally makes sense. I mean, you have a limited group; they're not going to know about all these obscure stuff. But yeah, lots of unusual stuff.
And even a number of the fans come with titles that I was impressed that the knowledge base is as deep as it is, and anime fans are knowledgeable.
So this is a trend we talked about earlier today in one of the panels, the fact that it seems like anime fandom is trending older again. Do you think that, based on what you've seen in conventions, because certainly it was on a downward trend towards teenagers, and I mean downwards trend simply in terms of age, not in terms of quality. But we were seeing, more and more, it was college students and then high school students, and it was getting, younger and younger and younger.
I wonder, because things seem to go in waves. So I think part of it is going to depend as the anime fan base tends to grow older, and eventually a number get married, have children, have nieces, have nephews. They'll begin to introduce it to their family members, and we'll see sort of cycles of this as it kind of ripples up as anime becomes more popular among American fans and English-speaking fans. I'm not sure that it would be as much of a trend in Japan, but at least in the U.S. that we've seen, the trend as a person became an anime fan and grew into it, and the younger generations didn't adopt it as much. And I'm not sure if it's because of programming or because that's older brother's thing. He's into it, and I'm going to do my own thing to get my own personality. But a lot of people have come and said, hey, I saw this anime when I was this year, 10 years old, 8 years old, 12 years old, and now I'm a fan, and that's what got me into it. So as far as viewing habits, there may be a bunch of kids out there who are real big consumers and enjoyers, but may not be purchasing or going to cons or focusing on that now. And when they get some disposable income, as they get their first job, as they move into college and share that experience, they may expand that and say, yeah, I love that as a kid, and now I can indulge in it a little bit more. So I can see the trend going in that direction. Is the liberty is there?
Yeah, because what was happening for a while there in anime fandom is folks would come in at 14 and watching Naruto or what have you, and then they'd stay as fans for a couple of years, and then they'd drop off. And so then you're getting more 14-year-olds, right? And it just kind of cycle with these relatively young fans, and they would never grow old with it, so they never get the disposable income to sort of move on. So it'll be interesting to see if that if that trend is changing, because I completely agree. I'm seeing a lot more folks and a lot more teenagers. I started when I was 10, 12, and now I'm 15, 16, and I'm a hardcore fan. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life, which is really, really cool. I hope that's true. So Liquidus asks, why did Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, why is that expiring first while the 2003 series expires this summer? I expect the older series to go out first. And I think that's because when FMA was originally licensed, A, it was a different time. So I suspect the license was relatively inexpensive. And B, I think that when Funny licensed it, they knew they were going to want this for a while. So I think they negotiated for those rights. There were probably other things going on behind the scenes too. I wouldn't surprise me if Funny had negotiated ahead of time on the show. So they may have known the show was coming out and kind of gotten in on the ground floor with it. That happens sometimes.
That would make sense.
Now, the thing about Brotherhood is, I certainly agree. It's surprising that they made that license relatively short.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd hold on to that for a long time, but maybe that was very expensive. Maybe they went in to negotiate.
The success of the previous, they might have requested more, or for the same time period, it would have cost more.
Yeah.
And so they went with a shorter period.
To at least get it out there and make their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
It doesn't feel like Brotherhood has been out that long, though.
No.
How many years has that been?
A couple of years, it seems.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I don't know. But yeah, licensing is a complicated thing. And there's lots more going on there than we will ever know. Which is kind of the reality of it. And it also gets back to the fact that we are such a relatively small slice of the pie that there's no real need for them to spend a lot of time and effort on it.
It must be a really tricky job for Funimation and Sentai and all these groups to try and figure out where the American tastes are going to flow among anime consumers, because they have to anticipate when they're buying titles what we're going to really get into and what we're not. And as anime fans, we spread the spectrum between somebody who knows absolutely nothing about Japan to people who prefer just listening to the Japanese version of it, which is pretty incredible and intense. So being able to choose where their audience is going to want to purchase, where they're going to want to purchase licenses for their audience. It seems like a very tricky area to navigate. So I wonder what feedback systems they would have.
It's an interesting question. I don't know. And I'm sure they're looking online, they're looking on forums, seeing what folks are talking about. And you see things like Hitalia is a great example of a show that was hugely popular, despite not having a big marketing push, as far as I know, from the Japanese side. It kind of got this spontaneous fandom, and then the American industry had to kind of jump on it and catch the wave.
D.
So yeah, absolutely. Hey D.
Oh, sorry. Yay.
Yes, thanks for stepping away. So we've been having so much fun at the convention. We only got a chance now to do this. This is awesome. It's been a really interesting time seeing how those licenses and seeing what shows do get licensed and don't. And part of the problem, as folks have noticed, is that sometimes something that's very popular doesn't get licensed because of the expense. No one can pay the coin for that show, even how popular it is. You know, it's economics.
License request line.
Well, and it's funny because we've seen cases where folks try to independently license anime. And we see we've seen a couple of different folks who tried to like crowdfund licensing an individual show.
Were those successful?
No.
Oh, it must be a lot of money.
Because that's the problem. You need tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Machine to distribute.
Yeah.
So if the groups like Funimation don't get on board, then even if you do get the license, how do you get it produced, distributed, sold?
Yeah, it's very difficult and complicated, and you get a lot of and the issue too is, okay, so let's say you know somebody in Japan who knows the person who works in contracts and who's talked to you and has said, yes, we're willing to do this with you. That is a very different conversation from the conversation you have 3 months later when you come in cash in hand.
Yeah.
So they say, oh, okay, well, here are all the terms. Here's what you can or can't do.
Terms and agreement.
Here's what you're paying for. Here's what you have to pay for to get this other
Terms
thing.
and conditions. The T&C contract.
So it's there's a lot to it, and it's one of the things that's made a lot of these things sort of fall apart is that folks want to do it and they want to get involved, but there's so many moving parts to it.
License in Canada.
Yeah. And interestingly, to that point, you'll notice that when Funimation announces a license, they announce a North American license.
North American. Do they do a Spanish version?
Do they?
Do they?
Interesting. I don't know. I don't recall seeing one. I mean, I've certainly
it is part of North America. Spanish speaking.
I've certainly seen Spanish subtitles, but they've usually been for other releases.
Okay, I got to go back and look again.
Yeah. But then that's one of the reasons is that you're doing a Canadian versus an English one, and then it becomes the same.
That isn't part of that whole NAFTA thing.
So and now to be clear, often what happens is they license, they get the North American distribution rights, but they're releasing it only in America because that's the
U.S.
That's their distribution network. So it's again one of how things get complicated is that you can license something in a region, but not necessarily have access to the entire region.
Oh, that is tricky, yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing anywhere, you want to do karaoke, but there's only one karaoke bar, and it's two hours from where you are. I'm sorry, but I can't just, haul my karaoke bar down to you. No. It's the physical world is a complicated thing. Hey, Master Chief.
Hey.
So yeah, it's a complicated, difficult thing. It's one of the reasons why it's a good idea to go to some of these cons and find these things that are hard to find.
Chinese New Year today.
Really?
Wow.
Sweet.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So yeah, it's been an interesting con so far, definitely. Yeah. A lot of things, and I also want to praise the folks doing this con for how they position the con in terms of the hotel. It's near food,
and the food is reasonable price.
Yes.
So often you go to a large con, and you get convention prices, which are gouge.
And convention prices for convention food.
Which is not the greatest.
So it's been great having, there's a little buffet restaurant in the hotel. You walk right past
delicious.
it. Oh, it's great. And then having fast food around and other sit-down restaurants around. It's really helpful.
One of the things I really enjoy about the smaller con is if you get a hotel room near the con or in the con, the con is in the same area as your hotel. It's so fast to get back and forth to where you're going, and you don't have to spend as much time navigating seas of people just to get to where you're going. So you can really enjoy just dropping stuff in your room, going back and forth, and being able to enjoy that without planning an hour out of your day to just navigate and get.
We are literally on the other side of the hotel from my panel room, and it takes us about 2 minutes to get there. It's great. Love it. So yes, no, that's absolutely a big deal, and it's one of the reasons why I think it's worth coming to a small con, because there's not just that more collegiate feel, but you also have that everything's simpler, everything's easier, and the hotel room itself is cheaper. So that's something I really like. It's really cool. So yeah, it's been a fun time.
Let's see, Anime Matsuri. Is that a convention?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Matsuri is a festival. But
now, I suppose there's also sorts of different cases. One thing that they've emphasized, cosplay is not consent.
Yeah,
and this is an interesting thing because sometimes it's taken for granted that things shouldn't, but since nobody said explicitly it shouldn't things do.
Mm-hmm.
But here is a more family environment, and they've still put this up. Cosplay is not consent, and so there's consideration for the folks who are cosplaying.
You mentioned in opening ceremonies and closing ceremonies too, I think, as something that's important to let folks know about, that this is that unfortunately needs to be communicated on. Better to have it up front than afterwards. It's not a good thing, especially at a smaller con where folks are coming and going a lot. There's not crowds of people around, so it's easier for folks to get confused, for folks to try to take advantage of a situation, and not even in a nasty way. But just there's less policing, if you will, at a smaller con. Be a little more
sort of self-policed.
Right. Exactly. There is not a con staff member at every corner, right?
Which gives a more comfortable feel in some sense, because I don't feel like I'm part of just a mass of a herd of people that needs to be controlled. That feeling that we're responsible people inspires responsibility in the people who go there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's very, very true and very helpful.
I wouldn't rebel against the authorities unless there were authorities to rebel against.
Right, and it's actually a really cool thing. One of the great things about this and Animore, which you both run by the same group, is that it is family run, but also it feels like it's a family. Yeah. You feel like you can just walk up and chat with them and talk to them about things and ask them things, and they'll just talk. Yeah. There's no real difference. And granted, I mean, most even big cons, staff is certainly approachable. Right. But they're running around, they're doing stuff. They have, walkie-talkies and all this stuff that they're doing.
Hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. 3 hallways down, take the escalator, go 3 miles that way, and it's on your left. And if they don't know, then come back to us.
Yeah.
Oh, next. Wait, what?
Yeah. Or, our projector doesn't work. I'll get back to you on that. Yep. And we got to call this guy because that's another department.
Here, we just walked down the hall. Need a projector. I'll find it. Okay. Then we go back to our thing and boom, projector there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's really, really cool. But that's been pretty cool. So Zengai Con coming in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, coming up next month. That's
Pennsylvania,
cool.
Lancaster.
Nice. Lots of cons everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you guys aren't familiar with it, animecons.org is a great place to go for convention information.
Spot.
Yes. They even will do coverage at cons, video coverage at cons, which is
I think I signed up for that.
We might have similar footage coming from these cons coming soon. We'll see how that goes. But that's pretty cool.
Wow. Well, let's see.
Others? Yeah. Cool. Do we have anything else we wanted to mention here about the con?
Let's see. I bought a lot more anime. Let's see if this is still going live.
Yeah, we're still live.
We're still live. So there's a few small issues when you're using internet at a hotel, especially when there's a convention. Everybody jumps on the bandwidth.
Yeah,
and the password is not a secret, so the bandwidth gets used pretty quickly. So sometimes bringing a live broadcast to you may be a little bit tricky. We may have to knock down the quality to save bandwidth because otherwise our signal gets crushed and then we get no signal. So, but that's one of the small tricky things about a convention is being able to have reliable internet with the bandwidth you need for what you're doing.
They're really not set up for this kind of a thing.
It's a very different scenario. A lot of hotels will have internet, but that doesn't mean they have high speed for everybody, unlimited. They may have the ability for you to check Facebook, get some email, but sometimes doing a podcast may be a little bit more of a logistical trick, gymnastics.
So this would be a good time for us to talk about con preparedness and etiquette.
Yes.
Right. So tips for people going to a con and what they should prepare for.
Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate.
Absolutely. Yep. Definitely make sure. Bring some food with you.
Food is always good. Snacks, because you may not always have access to a place that is providing the amount of food that you need for intake, especially if you get low blood sugar, if you have diabetes, or if you have any of those scenarios, or just forgetting to eat, because it is a very exciting event, and you can get wrapped up in something and going to the next thing, and next thing you know, I'm getting so tired and I don't know why. Oh, I haven't eaten anything in too many hours.
Yeah. And it's also a good opportunity to bring food that you like that works for you.
Yes.
So besides just, health issues, but also I like to bring trail mix. My favorite, combination of trail mix. I can't get that word necessarily wherever I go. So yeah, definitely bring food that works for you.
Doesn't hurt to bring a friend also. And food for the friend.
Yes, definitely. That's actually a really good point. Coming to a con, I've done it both ways. It's always more fun with people.
Yes.
If you can bring folks along and be with them, that's always better.
Let's see, what else have I found useful? I like to bring a pen and a pad, because I never know when I'm going to hear a new anime that I want to get. Sometimes it takes a little while to get on the cell phone and type it down. And I want to hear what else is going on. I could write it much faster than I could tap it in, but some people can tap it in. Let's see, what else is a good one?
And actually, to that point, if you think you can rely on your cell phone, remember, you may have recharged your cell phone at 8 a.m. and it's now midnight.
And the batteries are low, and there's no outlets that are available, or very few, or inaccessible ones.
And also, if you're at especially medium or larger con, signal strength can be so low that your phone has been trying to grab data and it drains the battery.
The more your phone is trying to get a signal out because of low signal strength, the faster that battery will drain.
So be aware your cell phone may not last as long as you expect. That's a great point. Pencil and paper for taking those notes is a good one.
I like to bring an extra something to keep me warm, because sometimes you're in a room and it's cold. I've been in a few viewing rooms where there's been a sparse number of people, and when it's packed with people, it gets warm. But when there's not so many in there, and the lights are off, and they suddenly they turn on the ventilation system, it can get kind of chilly. So having and the great thing is, having a sweater, you can always pull it up over your head if you want to rest a little bit, use it as a pillow. You can tie it around your waist. You can use it as a cushion. I found something like that to be quite comfortably.
I also think that doing
by the way, neon blink blink.
There we are. I also find that for kind of getting stuff done, I like to bring my laptop along with me. In the sense that, yes, you can do email on your cell phone, but when you only have 15 minutes between when you wake up and you have to go down to that panel, doing it on your cell phone, as fast as you can do it on your cell phone, sometimes it's quicker to pull that up.
If I can get all fingers involved rather than just my thumbs.
So it's very helpful to do that. And then there's other stuff you can do on the laptop, which is helpful, like watching anime.
That does come in handy, especially when you get back to your room and you have a DVD and you want to play it, and there's no DVD player attached, but you got one in your laptop.
And if the internet's decent in your hotel room, sometimes you can stream stuff. You're there with friends. You've just been talking about this awesome thing, while you were in the dealer's room or whatever. And this is the show you should watch. You can go back and plug it in and watch it. There in your hotel room.
Pinata does Star Trek?
Yeah,
Let's check this out.
So that's definitely very helpful. I bring extra clothes.
Clothes is a good idea.
So often, in general, when traveling, you spill mozzarella sticks on your favorite shirt. Exactly.
or me, water at the beginning of the show here. It's finally dried up.
The marinara sauce is going everywhere. So I bring some extra clothes, socks, things like that.
I bring a toothbrush.
Yeah.
And it's small enough I can stick it in my bag. And you know, if you're staying at the con the whole time and you haven't got a room, or you do, whether you do or don't, nothing gives you a fresh feeling like being able to brush your teeth. I mean, you can take a shower, you feel fresh, but if you brush your teeth, you get a fresh feeling.
And to that point,
taking a shower.
Yes. Take a shower, bring deodorant, all of those things. A con is not a point in which to skimp on those things. Everyone else will notice. They will know, and you will not be very popular with your friends as a result of this.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of consideration that's nice just for the others around you.
Yes.
And it is kind of disruptive to come into a panel room and sit in a chair that somebody's been sitting in, and the chair still smells, and you go, did this person shower this month at all? You know, how did they get the funk into this chair?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Sadly, I've seen a few people who neglected those things, and when people came in to enjoy a panel, they'd sit down next to this person, and they'd only be able to tolerate it for a few minutes, and then they'd get up and leave the panel. And you don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sort of unnecessary.
Yeah. And also to that point,
I didn't see it here. I mean, but at other larger conventions. But
no, and this is more of a sort of behavioral thing. Be aware at a con of how much space you take up. And I don't just mean in terms of weight. I just mean in terms of, like, we're adults. It's easy for us to back into things that we couldn't when we were 12.
Oh, especially with cosplayers around. You don't realize you have to have your awareness around just to make sure that you know somebody doesn't bump into you or you bump into them.
Break those wings or whatever.
Break the wings off, or knock over the drink on top of the camera or laptop of the person next to. Yeah, there's physical awareness and spatial awareness. And you know, here's another thing: cosplaying and being under warm lights and some of the combat mime really creates heat and takes up space. And if you're doing a shoot, you kind of want to quarantine off an area so people don't pass by in front of your camera or get hurt. You know, so being able to have set down a few things that, or have friends kind of, oh, watch out, these guys are doing this here. Something to quarantine any action areas that you're participating in.
Definitely.
Or when everybody does the Haruhi dance.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think those are all really helpful things to do. And it's also, I think, really helpful to remember to bring something that something to entertain you in your spare time.
Yeah, there's going to be some downtime, which is good because it can be almost overwhelming sometimes if it's nonstop enjoyment.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing some people just sitting down and relaxing, and they had a hoodie so they could pull it over their eyes, almost like an eye shade, and just rest up for the next event.
Yeah, this brings up a really important point. I'm glad you brought that up. Is introversion versus extroversion.
Oh yeah.
If you're an introvert, be aware you're going to need to go back to your hotel room a few times throughout the day to recharge. A con, even a small con, can overwhelm you.
There's a lot of social interaction, and that's very true. Some people get energy by being around people. Other people get energy while they're alone, and then expend that energy when they're around people, and it can make a big difference.
We're in your mind, D. No. So yes, that is actually an important point to think about. Is that, and I'll be honest, I've been there. I've been at cons where I've suddenly had to say, I need to go to my hotel room. There are too many people here. I'm normally fine around crowds, but sometimes it is just too much.
This is reminding me of a Chicago song. Everybody needs a little time away.
There we go. So be willing to do that, and especially if you're with a group, make sure they understand that sometimes you need to take a break. It's not them. It's not you don't like them.
It's nothing personal. It's just we need to recharge our own internal batteries, our mental batteries or spiritual, physical batteries.
Yeah. And watch that schedule. You know, I've certainly had those times when I found that I booked myself from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yeah, you can easily overbook yourself. There's at conventions, there's a lot of things going on simultaneously, and sometimes it's a little frustrating because you want to go to everything and it's all at the same time.
Yep.
Or suddenly there's a gap where everything that's going on you really don't care about. It's a great time to hit the dealer's floor, talk to people, socialize, get pictures of cosplay, or go and get a bite to eat. And so to schedule or not to schedule.
Oh, great topic. Yeah. I think this is a more personal thing than a lot of folks believe. I think, so personally, I like to about half schedule. So I will fill up about half of my time with scheduled events, and the rest of it I leave up to chance and vagary.
So a little bit of structured time, a little bit of unstructured free-form time, so you can explore whatever whim takes you, whatever direction.
Yeah, but I know some folks who swear by structuring every half hour, and others who just let the winds take them where they may.
Structure.
They're all German for some reason. No, kidding. I do not believe it's this. This is the same people who do Star City Games, although I'm not sure. I think it's a different group. So to answer your question, D, how introverted is the average con participant? That's a really good question.
Oh, you see the whole spectrum.
You really do.
Yeah.
And there is some self-selection going on there too. If you're going to go to a con, you're going to want, you're going to attract more extroverts.
I got to get out of the house.
Yeah. So I think we probably see a few more extroverts at a con than in the overall population of otaku.
Yes. And it's really interesting because you can kind of just watch people and sort of sample their personalities just by observing how open or how closed people are. And people at different times of the day are more open or more closed.
Yeah, true.
For me, when I start running low on energy, I really start to close down. Okay, I got to go back to my room. But other times I'm super open and, hey, nice to meet you, getting to know all sorts of folks. And a lot of it can have to do with energy level too. Some of it can have to do with just comfortableness. And that's why it's always nice to bring a friend. A friend can work with you and say, oh, okay, yeah, I can see you're getting overstimulated, or, you don't feel comfortable with this person. I'll talk with them, and you can kind of trail off. And but if you're quiet and you want to be quiet, nobody's going to force you to talk. It's if you don't feel like talking, you just
don't talk.
Yeah.
And cons are actually a great way, a great opportunity, I think, to socialize at your own pace.
Yeah.
You can certainly go to a con and not talk to anybody, and like I say, and that's fine. But then if there's somebody who's really interesting, you can go up to them and talk to them and say, hey, that was a really neat panel. And I just wanted to say that. And you walk away. Yeah. And it's fine.
I think we just turned on the air.
I think we did. With our minds. Absolutely.
Mental telepathy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how, when a license expires, everyone freaks out. It's just kind of like, well, but all licenses expire, so you got to be aware of it.
Oh, the sadness.
Yes. But the anime will return someday.
Lasts forever.
Who wants to live forever? Yeah. So, and I'm trying to think of anything else about cons and preparedness. And so once you're at the con, do you have any suggestions for folks at a con of things to take advantage of, even in the hotel itself, besides just the con?
This took me a few times around before I realized the con official start time is usually, they have their schedules. They usually put them out as late as possible because things change. They usually say something like sometime Friday till sometime Sunday. Well, things are going on before then.
Yeah.
Friday morning, Thursday afternoon. I've been to several cons, and it took me a while to realize I'm missing out on stuff that's going on that's not posted on the official thing because I'm not keeping track. And there are all sorts of neat things that are occurring. So keeping up to speed with the stuff before just what's hard scheduled.
Yeah.
Life is very plastic and fluid and flexible in convention scheduling. So you can't expect that the paperwork is going to be carved in stone. There are going to be changes, room changes. There's going to be panels that get swapped out, and there's going to be events that are not even on the schedule that may be exciting to go to, and they may even be before you expect the con is starting. For example, there was one con that had a 3-day event. It was a voice acting experiment that I think Greg Hauser and one other voice actor were doing, where they would take you through the experience of voice acting. So they'd have the first day on Friday early, and they'd talk with all the people who are interested, and you'd do a little section of voice acting, come up with roles, and then they'd select from that group a number of people to go to the next round. Everybody still can come to the next event and watch how these people do in the next level.
That's cool.
And from that level, they go on to the Sunday event. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 days. Sunday event, they have the finalists. And the finalists are going up and reading scripts with a projection of the anime with the time code, and doing their dub version of voice acting. And it was a fantastic experience to just watch this and see the whole progress. Even more so to participate as one of the voice actors who've made it through those rounds. And that kind of thing is something that's a little tricky to prepare for. But being prepared is part of it's being flexible.
Absolutely. Yeah, and to that point, I would say when you go to a con, try to go to one panel or one event that you wouldn't otherwise have done.
Most definitely.
Something that's just out of your, not necessarily your comfort range, but just something that's odd.
Yeah, I never would have expected this.
Yeah.
So I'll go to it. Well, try it out, and you never know. There's something interesting to learn.
You can always leave halfway through if you don't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing that's kind of neat about cons.
Yeah.
There's flexibility to come and go for the most part. Of course, you don't want to be disruptive when you do that. You don't want to come in late, make a noise. You don't want to leave, and people are generally courteous, and quietly in, quietly out, and just so the other participants aren't disturbed.
Another thing that I learned from cosplayers: wear comfortable shoes.
Oh, yeah, you may be walking quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's even harder for cosplayers, but definitely be aware of what you're wearing and make sure that's something that you are going to be able to live with for years and years, or hours and hours and hours, rather, at a con.
Comfortable shoes make a big difference.
It sure does. Yeah. Cool. We've been going for about an hour now, so I think that's a pretty good place for us to stop.
Thanks for joining us on this Spur of the Moment episode.
Yes. We will be back maybe next week. We'll be at Katsicon this next week. So we're similar kind of thing. We're going to try to stream from the hotel. There's always an iffy thing depending on schedule and everything else going on. Bandwidth, exactly. And then other stuff we're trying to do. So we'll see what we can do. We'll try to get something out next weekend, and because we always enjoy doing this and getting together with you guys.
Yeah.
So, thank you all very much, and we'll see you next time.